Overcoming betrayal through prayer. When my wife left me, life is unpredictable. Nothing lasts forever, not even the things we hold dearest, like love, relationships, or the promises we make to one another. When my wife walked away from our marriage, it felt like the ground beneath me had crumbled. The pain was unbearable, a heavy ache that lingered in my chest day after day. But then I discovered something simple, yet transformative. Just 8 minutes of prayer each day could shift everything. It didn't erase the hurt overnight, but it gave me peace, clarity, and a renewed sense of purpose. Today, I want to share that journey with you, not as a preacher, but as someone who's been through the storm and found a lifeline in faith. The fragility of love and life. We all know that nothing in this world is permanent. The house you live in will one day need repairs. The car you drive will eventually break down. Even the strongest relationships can fade if they're not nurtured. I learned this the hard way when my wife left. We built a life together, shared dreams, late-night talks, and quiet mornings over coffee. But over time, cracks formed. Maybe I didn't notice them soon enough, or maybe I didn't know how to fix them. Either way, when she walked out that door, I felt like I'd lost everything. At first I was angry, then I was heartbroken. I'd lie awake at night, replaying every moment, wondering what I could have done differently. If you've ever lost someone you love, whether through a breakup, divorce, or even death, you know that kind of pain. It's the kind that makes you question your worth, your future, everything. But here's what I've come to realize. Even in our deepest struggles, we're not alone. There's a higher power watching over us, ready to guide us if we just reach out. For me, that power is God. And those 8 minutes of prayer became my anchor. Why 8 minutes? You might be wondering, why 8 minutes? Why not 5 or 10? Honestly, it wasn't planned. One day I was sitting in my quiet, empty living room, staring at the walls that used to feel so full of life. I felt lost, like I was drifting in an endless sea of what-ifs. Out of desperation, I closed my eyes and started talking to God. I didn't have fancy words or a script, just raw, honest thoughts. Lord, I don't know why this happened. I don't know how to move forward. Please help me. I glanced at the clock when I finished, and 8 minutes had passed. It wasn't a magic number at first, but over time, those 8 minutes became a habit, a sacred space where I could pour out my heart and listen for God's voice. It's not about the exact time, it's about consistency. 8 minutes is short enough to fit into anyone's day, yet long enough to feel meaningful. It's a small commitment that can yield big changes. Whether you're grieving a lost relationship, chasing a dream, or simply seeking peace. The power of prayer in pain. When my wife left, I didn't think I'd ever feel whole again. I'd drive past places we used to visit, our favorite diner, the park where we'd walk on Sundays, and it was like a knife twisting in my gut. Friends told me to move on, but how do you move on when your entire world has shifted? That's when I turned to prayer. Not because I had all the answers, but because I had none. In those 8 minutes each day, I didn't just ask God to fix my problems. I reflected on what He'd already given me: a roof over my head, food on my table, the strength to get out of bed each morning. I thought about the stories in the Bible, like Job, who lost everything but held on to his faith, or David, who faced giants with nothing but a sling and trust in God. If they could endure, maybe I could too. Prayer didn't bring my wife back, but it did something even more profound. It brought me back. It reminded me that my worth doesn't depend on someone else's presence in my life. It taught me that God has a plan, even when I can't see it. As the weeks turned into months, I noticed the pain softening. It wasn't gone, but it wasn't controlling me anymore. I started smiling again, finding joy in small things, like the sunrise, a kind word from a stranger, or a warm cup of tea. A deeper connection with God. One of the most beautiful things about those 8 minutes is how they deepened my relationship with God. Before, I'd pray occasionally, mostly when I needed something. But this was different. It was a daily conversation, a time to sit with Him and trust that He was listening. I'd think about His love, His mercy, and how He never abandons us, even when we feel forsaken. Take a moment to imagine this. You're sitting by a calm lake, the water still and shimmering under the sun. That's what those 8 minutes started to feel like, a quiet retreat where I could rest in God's presence. I'd picture Him sitting beside me, not judging, not rushing me, just there. And in that stillness, I began to hear His gentle nudges. Keep going. You're stronger than you think. I've got you. Practical steps to start your own 8-minute prayer ruse. If you're reading this and thinking, I want that peace too, here's how you can start. You don't need to be a theologian or have a perfect life. All you need is a willing heart. Here's what worked for me. 1. Find a quiet spot. It could be your bedroom, a park bench, or even your car before work, somewhere you won't be interrupted. 2. Set a timer. 8 minutes is a suggestion. Adjust it if you need to. The point is to show up. 3. Talk honestly. Tell God what's on your mind. If you're mad, say it. If you're scared, admit it. He can handle it. 4. Listen. After you speak, sit quietly. You might not hear a booming voice, but you'll feel a nudge, a thought, a sense of calm. 5. Reflect on blessings. Think of one thing you're thankful for, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts your perspective. 6. Repeat daily. Consistency is key. Even on busy days, 8 minutes is doable. Let me give you an example. One morning, I was furious, angry at my ex, angry at myself. I sat down, set my timer, and let it all out. God, why did she leave? Why wasn't I enough? By minute 5, I was crying. But then, in the silence, I remembered a verse. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34:18. I felt that closeness, like a warm blanket on a cold night. By minute 8, I wasn't angry anymore, just tired, but hopeful. How prayer transforms your life. Those 8 minutes didn't just heal my heart, they changed how I live. I started noticing blessings I'd overlooked. The neighbor who waved every morning, the way my dog curled up beside me, the fact that I still had a job to go to. I began forgiving myself for my mistakes and even praying for my wife, not to win her back, but for her to find happiness wherever she was. Over time, people noticed. A coworker asked, "How are you so calm lately?" I smiled and said, 8 minutes with God. She laughed, thinking I was joking, but then she tried it. A week later, she told me, "I don't know how, but it works." That's the thing about prayer. It's not a quick fix, but a slow, steady transformation. It's like planting a seed. You don't see the tree overnight, but with water and time, it grows. Trusting God's plan. Here's the hardest but most freeing lesson I learned. Everything happens for a reason, even the painful stuff. When my wife left, I thought it was the end. But maybe it was a new beginning. Maybe God allowed it because He knew I needed to lean on Him more, to grow into the person I'm meant to be. The Bible says, all things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. I clung to that promise, even when it didn't make sense. Think about your own life. Maybe you're grieving a loss right now, a job, a loved one, a dream. It hurts, and that's okay. But what if God's using this to shape you, to prepare you for something better? 8 minutes of prayer won't change your circumstances instantly, but it'll change how you see them. It'll give you the strength to keep going, to trust that God's got a plan, even when the page is blank. A message of hope for you. If you're still reading, I want you to know this. You're not alone. Life can knock us down, but it doesn't have to keep us there. When my wife left me, I thought I'd never recover. But those 8 minutes of prayer showed me that God's grace is bigger than my pain. He's there for you too, waiting with open arms. You don't have to be perfect or have it all figured out. Just show up. So, try it. 8 minutes. one day at a time. Talk to God, reflect on His goodness, and let Him carry you through. You might be surprised at how much can change, not just in your heart, but in your life. I'm living proof that even in our darkest moments, there's light ahead. And that light? It's God's love, shining through every crack. After watching, remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and comment on the video. I have many good videos to share. Learn to give, and God will give peace to you and your family.